And good evening. Here we are here doing our second episode of the ParaCousins video chat. Um, I'm Scott.
And of course, for those that know us, I'm Chad. Um, so we're super excited because we've got somebody special who got to join with us this time that wasn't here last week. So we'll throw it to our third cousin who's been there since our first investigation as a team. And
I am Christy and happy to be here with my cousins uh, as we journey through our adventures in the paranormal.
we're gonna mostly be discussing our relationships with each other, how we all got started with each other, and a little bit of background on our paranormal experiences from childhood all the way up till now. So before we get started with all that, we're going to do our little segment with the speaking with spirits. So I myself kept mine simple and very fall-like. I'm doing some apple whiskey with some cinnamon whiskey and a splash of ginger ale, and it is delicious.
uh, my drink of choice, I don't know if it'll show up because of this. Ooh, there we go. It's kind of purple. You can't really tell, but it's the
Freddy Krueger fingers.
skeleton fingers.
Okay.
Where are you? There it is. There.
Okay. Okay. All right. I see
Yeah.
you.
Anyway, in that glass is a purple people eater, which is cranberry, vodka, little blue, curacao, some splash of lemonade in there. I had a garnish. It looked like a little eyeball with a blueberry and a marshmallow. But I ate it already.
That's the nice thing about garnishes is it gives you a little.
Yeah, yeah. We had to wait for Christy to join, and I just lost patience, so I ate my.
Oh, yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that 6 minutes she was behind.
Hey, what about you, Christy? What are you chugging?
I am going with a New Belgium IPA,
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Voodoo Ranger Fruit Force. Tapping into a little voodoo tonight.
Oh, I
All
was thinking
right.
more as like the newest
Ooh.
Power Ranger. What is this?
Yeah.
Anyways, uh, but we've been on Facebook what for a few months, Scott?
I want to say since was it June maybe?
Probably June. We've built up a small but loyal following since then, right? A few hundred
Yeah,
people.
most of them. I mean, we've not really seen many people drop off, which is a good thing.
Yeah. So we're keeping somebody happy, but uh
At least a few somebodies.
but most of those people they know us as, ParaCousins Paranormal, which obviously it's a play on word because we are all related. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what started our initial bond, right? Something to do together. It was fun. But the fun thing is that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we've all had some paranormal experiences, whether it was the stories we heard from family growing up or our own personal interactions, whether it's as kids or even as adults in our haunted houses, Christy,
Hmm.
or whatever
Yeah.
it was, right? So I think that's really what kind of set the foundation for us, and it's kind of grown into this much bigger thing.
My story is probably the shortest, at least when I rewind back to like childhood and stuff. Um, Almost every experience I ever had as a kid was with Christy. We had many experiences together, um, even outside of the paranormal world. We grew up together. I mean, we were together all the time when we were kids. She never went away. It was a whole thing.
Never.
Never did. um, like I'm not going to tell all of me and Christy's stories. I will tell the story when we were at Christy's sister's mother-in-law's house. And
Mm.
I want to say it was just us kids there. I want to say it was me, Christy, April, and Angie, and we had all left to walk to the gas station to get drinks and snacks and stuff, whatever. And when we came back, the lights were on. The lights that we know we turned off. So
Mm.
that was a thing. And then I had the only experience I remember as a child or a younger person that I had like on my own that was just between me and the powers that be was when I was 13 years old, and I had a dream that I had called my other grandmother, my on the other side of the family, and I had made plans with her to come spend the weekend at her house. And when we got to her house, she was nowhere to be found. So then when I woke up the next morning, she had passed away. So I don't know if that's necessarily paranormal or but it's not normal. It's not a normal thing that happens to people. So it could have been like a premonition, or it could have been some type of like ability that I have like through me being an empath. So but it's not a normal thing that happens, you know. Like in my head, she visited me the night that she passed away. So, and then I'll let either one of you guys take it from there. We're getting a visitor.
I'll jump in because I'm going to kind of piggyback off of some of the things Scott said. Is
Okay.
one of the biggest differences between the three of us is you guys got to have those experiences as kids, where for some reason my family decided to move to Florida and leave Ohio when I was super young, so I didn't get
Yeah.
any opportunities to do those things with you guys. But that doesn't mean I didn't have my own separate things going on. The first experience I remember having actually was in Ohio. And that was when I was, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years. We lived in Marion and our house caught on fire. And the only way out of the house was to go upstairs, which I'm pretty sure is the last thing they tell you to do if your house is on fire, is to go.
Yeah.
But that was the only way out. We found a window. My dad had busted out the window, and we were on the second floor with a pretty steep drop. But uh, but no, I remember going out the window, and there was someone standing outside who grabbed me, set me down, took my mom, took her down, and helped my dad. No problem. Uh, my dad turned around to thank this person, and he was gone, completely vanished. The only people that were there, the fire truck was there. Nobody from there. They had just pulled in. The neighbors were outside, and nobody had seen this person that we had seen when we described it. And it's someone I still remember what they looked like, what their face, what their hair looked like, everything, but they were just completely gone. Um, Growing up, my mom, my dad still vouched that story. It was stories of, was it an angel? Was it this? Was it that? And there's been several others as kids too. The house we lived in for most of my childhood, we had sounds, people sitting on the bed, pulling at covers, Ouija board sessions, my brother and I, like all kinds of stuff. So we experienced a ton of stuff in that house too that we could never explain. Not to mention near death experiences, which maybe it's a conversation for a different time. But but I had experienced that stuff growing up, and that was long before the idea of being a ghost hunter or a paranormal investigator or anything that stuff ever crossed my mind, which came much later.
I hope you weren't thinking about that when you were 3 or 4 years old.
Typically not, but I do think a lot of those experiences, not that one as much, but the experiences in the house. I think a lot of those experiences kind of shapes my personality a little bit. Not to mention all the horror and all the weird stuff that I got into, growing up too, which I think we came from the right demographic, the right place and time, into that spooky, scary, bloody, gory stuff growing up. So that it's all connected. It overlaps, I guess. All right, Christy,
All right.
it's your turn.
Oh boy. So I guess I have had multiple experiences. Going back to the first I can remember, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. A cousin of ours and her fiance at the time had come to pick up my older sister and I to spend the night with them in a house that they were just getting ready to rent. They were super excited about it. And when we got to the house, you could hear what sounded like someone hammering on the roof, but there was not supposed to be anyone there. Her fiance had gone out to check. There was nobody there. Okay, just forget about that. We go inside. They're taking us on a little tour, showing us, all of the rooms, and we had gone into the kitchen. And pots and pans just started flying at us. So exit the kitchen. Her fiance is terrified. He hides under a bed. We hide in a corner with our cousin. And as he decides, we got to get out of here, it's just not safe because there were noises all over the place. The bed falls in. They're like, we're going to take you guys home. And they decided they were not going to rent that home after that. So that would be the first experience. And to this day, I live in an old farmhouse. And ever since we've been here, there's just been, random noises or feeling as if someone is sitting on the bed with you. I saw my very first apparition here in this home about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. I'll never forget it. It was in black and like grays, tones of gray. It didn't look like a person as we see each other, but it was quite an experience, I'll say. But I have had so many over my lifetime that I could not possibly. It would just be me talking if I were to go on, and I'm not going to
It's so,
do that. So
but going back to something Scott had talked about earlier too, about, having premonitions and dreams and things like that. I mean, I've always been, since I was really young, been very interested in, and I wouldn't even say it was the paranormal side of dreaming, but like the psychological side and what the hidden meanings are in dreams. People would come to me like, even now, hey, I had this really weird dream. Can you talk to me about it? What do you think it was about? Like reading dream interpretation books and all that fun stuff when I was younger.
oh yes.
But I remember one time kind of the same thing happened where my dad had a heart attack in the middle of the night. And as the ambulance got there to do what they were going to do, and it was midnight, in the middle of the night, I don't know what time it was, but um our grandma had called, at that exact moment the ambulance showed up. And she's like, where is Warren? Is he okay? I just woke up because I had this pressure in my chest and something's wrong. And she was calling because she knew, call that mother's intuition, call that,
Mhm.
I don't know,
Connection, whatever you want to call it.
connection. I don't,
Right.
there's all of these kind of cogs and wheels that connect all of our stories in some way, whether
Yes.
houses burning down or dreams happening where serious health crises are happening, like
But
whatever.
and then like even when you like because you had rewinded back to with me talking about the dream about my other grandmother.
Yeah.
Now our grandmother, she our granny, I'll refer to her as granny because that's who she was.
Right. Yeah.
She was a big believer in the dreams.
Oh yeah.
Yep, everything in your dream means something. It all means something. It all matters. So if you're dreaming, make sure you pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. I went my whole life and people are like, oh, you remember your dreams, or oh, you dream in color.
Yeah.
I'm like, doesn't everybody? Like,
I
Right.
remember bits and pieces.
I
Oh, I can remember entire dreams.
and a lot of the paranormal stuff, and we probably all have this in common. I'm sure I do, you guys do too, but a lot of the conversations leading back to paranormal stuff are, a lot of those are connected to Granny and the stories that she told and what.
Yes. I remember her talking about having a dream, and in her dream, she was pregnant with our Aunt Cindy.
Uh-huh.
And in the dream, she was informed that she was going to have a daughter who was born blind. And that in fact was the reality of Aunt Cindy.
Right.
She was born blind. But I do remember Grandma specifically talking about having this dream, letting her know that her child was going to be born blind.
Right. So like for me, like most of the talk that I remember, like Granny, a lot of it was like, I don't want to say old wives' tales, more like jokes, I guess.
Mhm.
Like jokingly little ghost stories. Like the kid at the graveyard with the knife and, oh, she's got me, she got you. Remember that one, Christy?
Mhm.
It was stuff like that, and that was mostly when we were younger.
Right.
Um, and she always talked about dreams and how spirits are everywhere. They're everywhere. People, spirits are around. They are around us. We are surrounded by them. They are everywhere. They are constant. And she was a firm believer in that.
We grew up not only with our own experiences,
Mhm.
but also kind of the ghost stories, if you will, that got passed down.
And
So,
and,
Right.
and not even necessarily just ghost stories. I think a lot of it was Granny's beliefs.
oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
She believed it, and she told us about it, and she shared it with us, and she made it to where, you know, knowing these things, or experiencing these things, it's not a scary thing. It's not.
Mhm.
It's
It's just a reality. It is
she normalized it for us.
right.
Mhm.
Knowing all of that, I mean, that's kind of brought us full circle to, okay, now we're all grown up. We live in different states, or I do anyway, which kind of brought us to literally our reunion in
Mhm.
every year since the beginning of time. Around Labor Day, we have our family reunion back in Ohio, or in Ohio, depending on who you are, where you live. But it was what, last year, even though it seemed like a lot,
Yep, September of 2023.
yeah, it seemed like a lot longer than that, but
Mhm.
A
but
lot's happened since then. A
it
lot
has,
happened
right?
since then. Yep,
So, but
absolutely.
prior to that, probably over the year before, I had gotten really involved in doing like ghost hunting stuff or paranormal investigators after randomly meeting somebody who was at Alcatraz Island in San Francisco. We were walking through the prison. He's like, I'm filming for YouTube. We started talking about, do you want to walk with me and see what happens? Of course I do. That sounds cool. So I mean, that was really the first time I'd done anything like that. And then I did a couple things after because the bug had bitten. Um, so leading up to the reunion, I'm like, I'm going to Ohio. I'll be there for a few days, whatever the case is. It's a new place. There's got to be something haunted or supernatural or something I can do while I'm there, make the best of my time. So I found a place in Loudonville, Ohio, called Landell's Mohican Castle, which had reportedly been haunted. Ghost Hunters or one of the shows had been there. So, okay, it's reasonably priced. I'll book it, even if I do it by myself. But I'm like, okay, I could do it by myself, but why do that when I could enjoy it with other people? So the first people I thought of were Scott and Christy. So you guys got roped into my obsession, and here we are.